ULM Warhawks head coach Bryant Vincent hopping on Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, want to thank head coach Bryant Vincent for answering the Locked On Sunbelt signal. He will be joining us here shortly. They had to incorporate 73 new players into the program. How did they go about doing that? They have been winning with outstanding defense. Neither team has had a 100-yard rusher, Jackson State or a UAB. At the same time, they haven't had a whole lot of offense either, as General Booty hasn't passed for 200 yards combined. And yet, ULM is 2-0. We also talk about the Texas game this week. Let's get to it. He is the head coach of the ULM Warhawks. He is head coach Bryant Vincent. Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I'm your host, Dave Schultz. Thrilled to be joined by the head coach of the ULM Warhawks. He is Bryant Vincent. The Warhawks off to a 2-0 start. At one point in time, at the bottom of a lot of people's rankings, at 134 out of 134 teams. Ask UAB, they're not 134th anymore. Not only are they the surprise of the Sunbelt thus far, but probably the biggest surprise in the nation. Coach, congratulations on a tremendous start.
We're very obvious. Thank you, Dave. And obviously, we're excited. There's been a lot that's went into this deal really since December the 7th, and just chopping wood, taking it one day at a time. Developing a culture, a mentality, a toughness, and really just developing relationships throughout the town, and with the former players and even alumni, and our players have just grown. And they've developed, and we've gotten better, because anytime you add that many people into a locker room at one time, and there's been, a lot of tough times here for a while, and to embrace that and have that chip on our shoulder, we're 134, what are we going to do about it? This team, we want to make history. We want to be the team, and that beginning to rebuild this program and get this town ignited and get the energy and passion back. And I think that, Jackson State was a big step, and Jackson State's got a good football team. They're going to win a lot of games this year. And then you go to UAB, that opportunity at home Saturday night against a program like UAB, and then just to go out there and play at a high level, it just raised the confidence in the town, in the team, and the belief. And we got a long way to go, Dave. We really do. We've got a long way to go, but we are off to a good start. We know that we've got the toughest schedule in the group of five, so-called, that was rated by ESPN. And, we've got Texas coming up. We've got to go to Troy, two-time defending champ. Then we've got James Madison, really the two teams in the Sunbelt that have won the most games combined in the last couple of years. And then we've got Southern Miss. So, but you know what? It's a road that we're excited about. It's a challenge that we're looking forward to. And our focus is, man, we want to be peaking around week 8 and week 9. And in order to do that, you've got to grind it one day at a time. And this open week, I think we've had a great week of practice. I think our kids' mentality, we haven't let up and patted ourselves on the back, because we really haven't accomplished any of our goals yet.
Yeah, you mentioned much easier to make those adjustments and to grow while you're winning and having fun than it is the other way. Wondering if you signed the contract before or after you knew you were playing Texas and Auburn in the same year.
I looked at the schedule and saw it was Texas and Auburn, but you know what? I said, hey, it'll definitely prepare us to go on the road and handle a hostile environment and really build this game, this team, to where, you just got to look at, hey, this is what it's like when you go on the road in a big environment, and you got to be better. You got your travel mentality is different than your home mentality, and to understand all the elements that you're going to be going up against.
All right, we're talking with Bryant Vincent, the head coach of the ULM Warhawks, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Talk to us about how you incorporated 73 new players, right? And many of those didn't come in until after the spring. You know, the freshmen and more transfers. You know, I mean, where was the male bonding, right? We got to figure out who's everyone's name, right? People don't know each other. A lot of times they do come in as freshmen and they grow together, but now you're putting, I guess for lack of a better term, hodgepodge of players together, and they have to come together to make a team. How did you go about doing that?
Well, we knew that we had to do it in phases and we had to do it in building blocks. So when we got here December the 7th, we had 2 weeks. We had 14 days to recruit. And we made the decision not to have 2 visits, just to have one big one. And we did that last weekend. We were able to get 36 really good players on campus. It was our first campus official visits. I'm trying to still figure out where the buildings are and where the places are at. But we ended up signing 31 of those 36 players, and we brought them all in mid-year. So they were able to start in January to start that build. Then we were able to bring in 42 more at the end. We signed 12 in February class that we were really excited about. Then, throughout the spring, we were able to ended up bringing 42 more guys in at the end of May. So you have that 31 and then you get that 42 and then you start summer workouts. And it's just one day at a time. And it's a constant message of mentality, toughness, discipline, attitude. And when all those things start to shape, that's when the chemistry starts to form, because everybody's doing the same thing. They're all bought into the process. And there's a lot of tough love. And when things happen, it's got to be called out. It's got to be brought to the team on why we don't do this, why this is not going to be accepted. Unfortunately, we've lost some guys along the way that just wouldn't buy into the standard or just didn't want to be a part of how we did things. And, that's just part of it. But I really like the culture and the camaraderie. And I think that it's a process too. This thing's got to be peaking. Our chemistry and culture and mentality's got to be peaking by week 8 also, if we're going to be able to accomplish the things we want to.
All right, coaches are not necessarily the most patient of all people, but this is a whole new process. Certainly, you've been around when you've come in with other new head coaches, and there's turnover. You didn't even need NIL and the transfer portal. Kids just left, right? Whatever the case may be, and there's always some turnover, but this is a lot of turnover. What did you learn about yourself and the process going forward? Because this is brand new to basically everybody.
I think that my experiences throughout my career have really helped, whether it was at Greenville High School and we brought in a new staff, Spanish Fort High School and we brought in a new staff. A lot of guys that are here with me today. You've got Ernest Hill that's been with me at Greenville and Spanish Fort, my defensive coordinator, to the South Alabama, to restarting it at UAB, to 14, to redoing the roster, to then helping rebuild an entire program that was shut down. So I was prepared for this. I'd been through this, and day one, it sounds crazy, but I was comfortable in the process because I'd been through it and knew it was going to take phases. And we wanted to build it with defense first. That first signing class was loaded with defensive players because you've got to win. You've got to be able to stop the ball, stop the run, play great defense. And then it was defense and O-linemen, and then we really tried to focus on finishing up our offensive roster and really our special teams roster. Getting Mackenzie Ryan in late, our punter, was a big get for us. And Max Larson from Florida State, our starting kicker, late, was a big get. So our staff did a tremendous job of recruiting. The university really pulled together because it takes, your registrar, it takes your academic, it takes the transcripts, it takes the flight, it takes the travel. And there was a lot of people in this university that are all in, and it's going to take all of us to get this thing back where it needs to be.
All right, let's take a time out. We'll come back more with the head coach of the ULM Warhawks, Bryant Vincent. We'll talk about that defense, when he thought he had a good defense, and he talks a lot about complementary football. But first, let me tell you about eBay Motors and LinkedIn. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. All of the parts you need at the prices you want is easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit. Only available to U.S. customers. And LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just a job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit another job leading sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. Right now, 2.5 million small businesses are using LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's get back to it. He is the head coach of the ULM Warhawks, Bryant Vincent, talking about when he knew he had a good defense and playing complementary football. All right, we're talking with Bryant Vincent, the head coach of ULM Warhawks, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. I wanted to talk about quarterbacks, but life is all about making the adjustments. You went right to the defense, and the defense has been absolutely outstanding. So far, 2 ball games, neither team got over 300 yards. You have limited both teams to less than 100 yards rushing. Who has stood out defensively for you guys?
It's really been a unit effort. I think that our defensive staff has done a tremendous job of gelling the defense. You know, if you just look at our defensive line, we've got 8 guys. We're rotating 8 guys, you know, from Billy Pullen to Dylan Howe to Jalen Ware, you know, to, you know, you can go back to Tristan Shorter, to Davin Anderson, to Earl Barquette, you know, to Alvino. We've got to Vontae Wells, who's playing lights out. And then our backers, you're looking at Tyrese Hopkins and Carl Glass, and then Cedrian Langston and Brett Drillette and Dan Knutson. We've got a 5-man rotation there. I think that Carlin Vigors and David Gotze have played lights out. You know, Wydette Williams, you know, is Sunbelt Player of the Week at our boundary safety, to Carl Fontor, to Traver, to Steven Sabon. We've got a good group of guys that embrace their role. They play with a lot of effort, a lot of energy. This is a stat that is incredible to me. We have not had one defensive penalty in 2 games. Not one. So that's incredible. And we have not thrown an interception or fumble. So we haven't turned it over. We got stopped on 4th and 1, which was disappointing. But we've had takeaways on defense. We haven't turned it over really on offense. We've controlled the time of possession. And I think we've played at a really a high level in the first 2 games, you know, in special teams.
And so you've been around a long time, got a ton of experience, as you spoke about. Did you realize coming out of camp the defense was so good? But even as a coach with all of your experience, you got to wait to see it, because I'm one of those guys who believes the defense is always going to really do better in camp, because eventually they know what play's coming. You guys only have so many plays and you're only practicing so many plays. So the defense eventually figures out what's coming, you know, depending on the alignment. Now you're playing somebody else. You know, they've watched film, but they can only do so much with that. When did you realize in camp, or did you have to wait until the Jackson State game to realize, oh, we may have something here?
Well, in the spring practice, our defense really dominated our offense as a whole. Throughout the spring, we had one really good scrimmage on offense, but it was a domination. So we felt like we could be good, but we felt like we had a long way to go with our roster on offense. And then when you get into fall camp, defensively, they're getting after us again. So we're starting to feel pretty good about our defense. And then the offense started coming along. The offense started, it was a back and forth day. And then we felt like once it becomes, a back and forth day or just a battle in practice back and forth, then you've got a chance to be competitive on both sides.
Is there a point in time where you're like, all right, we have the defense, and offensively it's not quite up to that yet, but again, it's always easier to grow when you're winning. Does that change your plans a little bit, knowing we have this defense, at least what we think, the offense has room to grow? That's going to dictate, would be the good word, how we game plan and what we're going to try and do offensively, because sometimes, punting is the best route to go.
Right. When we're playing really good on defense and we're able to run the football and we're not turning it over, we understand, we've got to get our passing game is going to start to flow in with the run game. I'm confident of that. It's just we haven't had opportunities, and we've been in. You're managing the game, and each situation is different. The flow of the game. So I think that there's been opportunities where we just didn't need certain things at times, but to win the big games, we've got to be more balanced. We're probably 67-33 right now run, which is fine. It's fine because we're a running football team. But if we can get that 55-45, good balance is kind of what we're looking for to be, then that's when we're at our best.
Well, to be straight with you, John Summerall with Troy won the first championship running the football, and sometimes it was just about flipping the field. It's like, all right, if we score, fantastic, but we just need to pin these guys back because they can't move the football against us defensively. I saw that up close and personal. They weren't even necessarily trying to get first downs. We'll just run it on 3rd and 5, and if we get it, great, but we're not going to throw an interception, and we'll punt it away. Is that some of what's going on there with ULM because that defense has been so stingy?
I think it's called complementary football. Right. And it's something that you don't hear very often. We played complementary football at UAB and won 3 West championships, 2 conference championships, and bowl eligible for 6-7 straight years. And John's offensive coordinator, Joe Craddock, was my tight end coach in 20 and 21. And then he goes, and Joe's a great coach, man. He's a good friend of mine. He's with him now at Tulane. But complementary football is, I think it exists, and I think it's coming back, and especially with the way the clock is running now on first downs and the rules have changed and your possessions are limited.
Right.
So the game shortens and you control the time of possession. You don't turn it over. You get some takeaways on defense. You own field position, and you're great in the kicking game, and I think it's a pretty good recipe.
Let's take a timeout. We'll wrap up our conversation with the head coach, Bryant Vincent of the ULM Warhawks. We talk about the quarterback room, how General Booty got the job, and how they can get more production out of him. And they look ahead to we look ahead to the Texas game and talk about our expectations changing a little bit because they had 2 early wins. We'll do that right after I tell you about Factor Meals. Fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-created meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious. From breakfast to dessert, stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Treat yourself to restaurant-quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, and blackened salmon. Keep kitchen time to a minimum. Factor meals are all ready in 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. Enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help manage your calories, maximize protein intake, or avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced meals. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LockedOn50 at factormeals.com/LockedOn50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Let's wrap up our conversation with the head coach of the ULM Warhawks, Bryant Vincent. Talks about that quarterback room, how General Booty got the job, how they can get more production out of him. We look ahead to the Texas ball game and have expectations changed now that they've got a couple of wins under their belt. He's the head coach of the ULM Warhawks. He's Bryant Vincent on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Talking to Bryant Vincent, head coach of the UL Warhawks on a Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, so let's talk about the offense. You did bring one of the guys you brought in for the fall was General Booty. How did the competition go in quarterback, and how did you settle on Booty?
Well, it's just the overall body of work. General came in, brand new. He had a great summer. He really, his football IQ is extremely high. He's a great teammate. He has all the leadership qualities and capabilities. He's natural because he's a great person too off the field. And he really gelled them together. He had a really good fall camp. He was the guy that he gave us the best opportunity. He was the best guy. And we named him the starter. Now he knows, and he's also tough on himself. He knows there's a couple throws out there that he'd like to have back through the first two games, but that's part of his growth and his development also, just like everybody else's. But, he's done a great job. He'll be our guy going into Texas. Aiden Armenta has come out of nowhere. I mean, he had a good spring. Solid spring. He was out for 6 weeks in the summer. He missed June and the first 2 weeks of July, came back, shot up the depth chart. Aiden Armenta is playing at a high level right now. We're continuing to grow him and get him experience because your backup, getting experience is very valuable. You can't buy it. You got to get it. So I like where our quarterback room is right now. I like the growth. I like the competition. Hunter Herring's come in and he's played a strong role on special teams and in our short yardage quarterback situation. So we've got the guys that just earn a role, own your role, and take pride in it and try to grow it. And that's what those guys are doing.
Did the former Cajun quarterback Hunter Herring block a punt? Is that what I'm reading?
He did. And he's playing lights out on special teams. He's on Pride and Joy, what we call punt block. He's on kickoff return. He's about to work his way up to right there on kickoff. I mean, he's 6'5", 225 pounds.
Wow.
He's strong. He can run. He's tough. And he can help us win football games.
That's amazing. We're talking with Bryant Vincent, ULM Warhawks head coach, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, let's talk about General Booty bringing it along, because obviously a recipe to win football games at any level is stopping the other team from rushing for 100 yards. All right. So far, ULM is 2-0, but have not passed for 200 yards combined. So that is an anomaly. And I'm not going to say that word again because I said it right the first time. How do you improve on those numbers? Because like you said, there is absolute room for growth. We don't need 300 to 400 yards in the air, but boy, 150 to 200 yards would be nice. As you said, complementary football to that running attack.
We talked about that as a team Monday, and I said, guys, I understand that it hadn't, but there's a lot of things that we haven't even called, that we rep daily, that we have ready, that are our base play actions, that are our base shots, that are our base stuff. And we're continuing to work it day in, day out. And I said, what we want to do, we want to have 200 yards rushing and 200 yards passing. Mm-hmm. Ideally, we want to be around that 400-yard range, and that's where we always have been. If you look at the last 6, 7, 8 years, we just haven't gotten that yet. And I think what we needed to do those first two games, we did. Sure. We need to establish the run. We needed to get control of the time of possession. We needed to have some opportunities. And I think something that's hurt us to where we hadn't seen it as much is we haven't been as good on third down as we need to be, which has limited some opportunities in certain drives, especially in the second half. In the second half against UAB, we went 3 and out twice. Well, we were up 16. And 16 is we're up 2 touchdowns and 2-point conversions. And the goal is to win. So when we go 3 and out and we're keeping that clock running, we're making them burn a couple timeouts. You can't go 3 and out because you miss those opportunities right there in that situation to push the ball down the field.
Yeah, every set of downs is 2 minutes. So it moves it pretty quickly. All right, let's wrap things up with head coach Bryant Vincent, the ULM Warhawks, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Tall task coming up, going to play the Texas Longhorns. They just snapped the defending national champions winning streak, home winning streak, looked really good doing it. How do you get these guys, not to have the big eyes going into Austin? They may be the best team in the nation. Do you use, NIU as an example of, hey, if they can get it done, we can get it done? How do you get these guys to believe that they can take down the Longhorns?
I think the biggest thing is we understand what we're going into. And I told the team, I said, look, we're going into a 100,000, a team that has a true opportunity to win a national championship this year. I said, we haven't been on the road yet. This is a journey. And, we've got to now become road warriors, road hawks. And our travel and our road mentality is totally different because this team, 73 new guys, they haven't been on the road yet. Right. So let's go do it in front of 100,000. Let's go do it against the best. And let's go play our best. And I said, it's going to be fast. It's going to be physical. It's going to be loud. And there's going to be a lot of power in the trenches that we've got to be able to fight our tails off and hold up. And let's go out there and play our butts off one play at a time, one drive at a time, one half at a time. And let's just see, our goal is to make it a game in the fourth. Make it some kind of game in the fourth to see, because anytime you're in that situation, you've got to fight for 3 to keep it close and hope you have an opportunity in the fourth. We were down 17-0 at Mississippi State in 15, and we felt like, and that was our mentality, make it to the fourth. Well, we scored first drive of the second half at 17-7. We stop them, we score again, 17-14. Then we go down, we kick at 17-17, and then we ended up beating Mississippi State and Dan Mullen, in 15 at the very end. And once our kids got to the fourth and they looked around and those cowbells stopped ringing, right, momentum changed. So, you got to, that's the game plan, and that's the path there. So that's the goal. Give ourselves an opportunity in the fourth.
All right, let's wrap things up with ULM Warhawk coach Bryant Vincent, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. All right, as you mentioned, you guys had one of the hardest schedules going. You were only picked, the number of wins was 1.5. I really, past Jackson State, I couldn't find another win, but I was always saying, based on what you were talking about, fast, physical, they're going to beat somebody they shouldn't beat. All right. I wasn't sure. I thought it was going to be UAB right off the bat, but I just know coming into Monroe, they could have beaten a couple of teams last year and came up short. Are you guys ahead of schedule? Because it just feels like all of a sudden we're looking at that schedule, minus again Texas and Auburn. All of a sudden, some of those games are much more winnable. And I know you guys aren't looking ahead, but I can do all the looking ahead for you guys. All of a sudden, there are some much more winnable ball games. How do you, again, keep them level-headed and just focus on what's right in front of them? Because it could be a very exciting season for ULM.
I think the biggest day is what got us there. And it's the daily grind. It's the daily win. It's being on time. It's being disciplined. It's maintaining your weight. It's crushing the weight room. It's extra film, extra treatment. When we practice, we start fast. When we finish strong, and our practices are designed like that. And we want to go out there and play the game every day. We want to play the game. And then we're done. We're taking care of our bodies. It's just being consistent in the daily grind and the daily process to give ourselves an opportunity on Saturday nights. And I think we've had a great week because, and we talk a lot as a team because if you don't tell them, they don't know. These kids are new. This is a new team. So, I think they're doing a good job of letting us lead them. You got to be willing to be led. And right now they're doing a good job of letting us lead them. And I told them we don't want to do this year two. So you're going to have to trust everything we tell you because we've been through this before. We've built a program from the dust to a championship, at this level, and we've won multiple championships. So if you want to do it year one, you got to trust us so it doesn't take the losses or the screw ups, the hard lessons. Let's try to prevent those. And they're buying into that. And we're just trying to grow as much as we can one day at a time.
He's head coach Bryant Vincent, ULM Warhawks, head coach, off to a 2-0 start, have Texas this weekend. I appreciate your time, Coach, hopping on Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Congratulations on the good start, and we'll try to catch up with you later on in the season. Best of luck.
Okay, Dave. Thanks again. Go Warhawks.